Hey, what's up? This is Johnny, and welcome to episode 115 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. I am so excited to announce that I have sold my freaking store, and I have the guy on the line who taught me everything I know about dropshipping. This is Anton Krely.
Oh yeah, congratulations.
Dude, you have no freaking idea how excited I am.
Yeah, it's a big move, and it's something that's been, I guess, years in the making. So congratulations on having it actually come through. It's a good feeling. I know it's a great feeling to have that big deposit come in.
Like, so do you remember when I was trying to be a Thai millionaire? My goal was to
I do
make my first $30,000, and it
Gold
was
Watch
like,
Challenge.
Yeah, it seemed so impossible then. And,
Yeah.
and now I literally got 2 million Thai baht in like a day, you know, and I don't know, I basically like tripled my net worth in like a day just from selling this one store.
I'm curious about how you're going to manage that, because I know typically like you're very good with money and you take your profit out of the business and you invest it. So what do you do now that you had a big payday?
I'm pop some champagne.
Yeah. Just go to Vegas, see what happens. Yeah. Change
actually,
your whole life now. Yeah. Now it's over.
Yeah.
The investing strategy's out the window.
Yep.
Yep.
All that was just to get to this point, and now I'm just gonna go stupid, spend it all, go rent a Ferrari for a day.
Oh man, why don't you just finance one? That's what most people do, and then see what happens. Yeah, and then a year later, try to figure it out again.
Definitely not. Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that, on how much of kind of like our life, you know, what our parents taught us or the way we grew up, whether we were rich or poor, how much that's actually helped me with my business sense. Because not only, you know, like running a business isn't just about, you know, what we learn in the course or what you learn online but it's like all the little things behind it. And I was just thinking, you know what, that must make a big impact. Just the fact that I grew up poor and I kind of know how to manage my money and I was never stupid about it. I think that's kind of brought me a lot further ahead than, let's say, a member who's like, you know, 18 or something and never had a real job. And he's like, oh, I have all this money coming in.
Yeah, but it's funny you say that, because you grew up poor, you're better at managing money. And I agree, but it's not because you grew up, you know, with less money. It's because your parents were at least still responsible with money. Because the problem is a lot of people do grow up poor, but it's because their parents spend everything on, you know, they make bad decisions basically. So you kind of grew up in a family that was, you know, they came in as immigrants, right? They moved to America as immigrants, and we're building something up for themselves. So it's a different story. I think, though, just to say, like, because you grew up in a poor family, that does not usually equal instant success. And I believe for those people, sometimes it's a much harder uphill battle because you're trying to break bad habits. But you actually grew up with your parents instilling good habits in you.
Yeah, I guess that actually makes sense, because if you grew up with parents that, you know, didn't know how to manage money, they're getting like payday loans, waiting for the refund check, and had the mentality of putting everything on credit and just buying dumb stuff, I think that would make it a lot harder to get the bad habit. It
is. When you see your parents going out and, you know, having those big credit card bills and going to finance TVs and get the newest electronics and whatnot, then you just think that's normal. And if that becomes normal, I mean, no matter what anyone says and no matter what anyone, you know, says they think of their parents, they're by far the biggest influencers you'll ever have. Even if you say you hate them, you listen to them. That's the way the world works. I'm convinced.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, luckily I read Rich Dad Poor Dad maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and that really completely shifted. I would say, you know, the things that I grew up with, it'll still always be there because it was, you know, 20 years of you know, I don't want to say brainwashing, but just like of influence. But reading that book really just kind of overnight said, okay, at least I had this whole other framework to look at.
Yeah, that's one that I really do think should be like mandatory reading for anyone, and even in middle school. It started at that age. Like it's such an eye opener just to the way finance actually works. And and it should be before you actually apply for a student loan. You have to read that book and then really evaluate your life.
It's crazy that that's not like a requirement. Let's say like before you take out, you know, $30,000 or $50,000 in debt, that you should at least understand like what debt is, what compound interest is.
And understand the value of money, because even when I went to school, like I didn't know. I was like, oh, whatever, you know, $20,000, that's nothing. I'll make that, you know, in no time. But then you realize when you first get out there in the real world that like 20,000 is a lot of money. No matter how much you make, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You know, and it is.
I think I had that same mentality. I thought, I was like, okay, I don't have to pay this back until I start working. Okay, cool. It's free money until then. And you know, out of college, I'll probably make, you know, let's say I'll make 50 grand or 100 grand out of college. You know, that's kind of like the random number you pick out of thin air. Like, oh yeah, I could pay back 30 grand in a year.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's nothing. Yeah, and then you get their first job offer, and it's like 40,000. You're working like crazy, and you're like, "What did I do?
You have all these bills.
What did I do to myself?
Taxes.
Yeah,
like nothing left over. You have like, you probably take home, you know, 3 or 4 grand a month, and then you know you have all your bills, expenses, and you end up paying like the minimum on your student loan, and that takes 20 years.
You know what's funny? I actually, when I graduated, I went to a state school, and my parents paid, I think, half. They were very generous with that. So I only owed like $13,500, I think, when I graduated, and I actually took the full 10 years to pay it off because my interest rate was so low. I graduated in 2006, and like they just gave me some amazing deal, and I think it was like $104 a month or something. And I didn't even want to pay off 13. Then it was like 5, and I was like, no, I'm not going to pay it off yet. Then it was 2, and I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like let me just let this auto payment come out.
That's
so
crazy.
Yeah.
So do you have any debt now?
No. I mean, I have a credit card that I pay off just like you, I think, like every other day. But yeah, it depends what day you ask me. It could be 30,000 one day and 0 the next because I didn't pay it in time. But yeah, it rotates a lot faster now.
How crazy is it that, I mean, I wonder how many people out there have similar kind of credit card paying habits where my credit card company actually like, they only limit me. I think they said you can only pay off your credit card 6 times a month because every time I'll log in, like literally it would be like once a week. Sometimes like, 2 days will pass. I'm like, oh, let me just pay out the balance. Let me pay out the balance. Because I hate having, that lapse and thinking like, oh, like, am I going to get charged 18% interest because I forgot to log in this month?
Yeah, exactly. Or because you just, I mean, even though, it's fine, but you don't want to log in and see that balance that's just so high. Even I actually made a payment this morning to American Express, and they don't even have a limit on their accounts, which is insane. But it was $42,000 I just paid. And it's like, oh, okay, like it's a credit card bill. Like it's insane. And when it says like, usually you see your limits with any other credit card, and American Express just says, I don't know the wording, but there's not a limit as to how much you could spend. So I don't know when they cut you off, but I think this is about the highest I've gotten it before I made a payment.
Well, we can go to Vegas and test that out.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So the one thing I missed the most after selling the store is actually not seeing those high balances on my Barclay card, because I know every time I'm paying like a 30 grand payment, I know I'm getting like $600 worth of travel rewards for that.
Mm-hmm. It's such an amazing thing. I mean, people have approached me all the time. I don't know if we're going to talk about e-commerce today or whatever. We'll talk about anything, but people have approached me all the time and said they want to build stores simply for the credit card benefits because they're travel hackers and they want to be able just to like, they're like, I don't care if I make money from my store. I just want to be able to charge as much as I can. Like, yeah, you could do that.
Yeah. But at the same time, I actually say that's a great way to start and just like not even worry about the profit. Just, try to, definitely don't lose money, but, just have the goal of growing the revenue first, as long as you're, I don't want to say break even, but like, let's say, at least make some little tiny bit of money, but don't worry about the profit.
Yeah. Like these are the people that are fine with, the 10% margins if they're building all those miles and literally traveling everywhere for free.
Yeah. Especially with, for travel hackers. So I don't do this, especially because I don't want to spend all day, researching the best credit card miles, how to transfer points from one system to the other. But those people, what they benefit the most from actually isn't even like the 2% cash back that we get. They benefit from their spend where they hit that, that first 1 or 2 month limit where they get that bonus, like that influx of like 60,000 miles. So their goal is to apply for like 7 credit cards at a time. Try to spend the minimum requirement, which is usually like $4,000 or $5,000, so they can get that big bonus. And traditionally, there's no way for them to do that, so they have to invent these crazy ways of churning credit card debt, I guess, where they'll go like buy gift cards from one place and then refund them somewhere else, and it's a big hassle. It
really is. It really is. I mean, I don't know. What are you still using the Capital One?
So I missed my Capital One Venture card. That one gave me 2% cash basically towards travel. I switched to the Barclay Arrival Plus, which gives me the exact same amount. Also gives me 2%, but it gives me another 0.5% when I redeem. So it actually
nice.
Yeah. So if you do the math, I'm actually getting 2.5% in total.
Yeah, that's very cool. Nice.
2.05%. So it's like
okay.
No, sorry.
Okay.
So it doesn't sound like much, but it adds up, especially because I was running 2 stores, and my average month I would probably spend 40-50 grand just on my credit cards. And like right now, I logged in and I have, I don't know, something like crazy, like 500,000 miles on there.
Yeah, it's the best feeling. I mean, I'm keeping it simple too, because the whole travel hacking thing, I totally get it. And for people that are trying to travel like for cheaper and figure it all out that way, like, go do it. But I haven't gotten into that. I just use the American Express Business Gold rewards card, and they do 3x points on any one category that you pick. It's only up to the first 100,000 of spend, but I did it with advertising because I spend a lot to advertise. So we got like the 300,000 points within a couple months, and then it's just dollar dollar for dollar, you get points. But what's great about them is you don't have to rely on like, one carrier. It's not, a United card or anything like that. So I could transfer points to Emirates. Like I'm flying back to the States this Saturday. So, business class flight, done, paid for with points. When I'm in New York, I'm staying at the Hilton. Transfer my points to the H Honors, done, paid for. So I really like that one. For anyone looking for like just a good card that makes life easy, I'd recommend the American Express Business Gold.
I can definitely see that. So I actually booked a flight just this morning, right before this, to go to Europe. I booked one, I think, yesterday, and I couldn't get my car to work for some stupid reason. I think it just like wasn't going through. It was British Airlines. Their website sucks. It just seems like it was built like 10 years ago. But I ended up saying, you know what, F this. I'm not going to waste any more time. Let me just book with my thank you reward points. So I kind of fell for the trap of seeing the 60,000 bonus miles if I open a Citi card, and I said like, okay, I was back in the U.S. Over Christmas. Let me just open this up, and maybe I can get like a nice flight from it. So I went through them, and I realized for whatever reason I couldn't. I didn't have enough points for a business class flight, so I was like, let me just fly to Europe coach. It's not a big deal. And I instantly regretted it. I started thinking about it for like 24 hours. I was in the pool yesterday thinking like, oh man, I'm going to be on this flight for like 16 hours. It's going to be so uncomfortable. I'm going to hate it. Luckily, they let me cancel that flight and then rebook using half points, half cash. So I think I ended up paying another like $1,300 in cash. Actually, ironically, on my Barclay card, even though it's a Citi card program. So I'm flying. So I'm flying business class there now. So I'm super happy, but I will never again go through that process of like points, because to be honest, it's a little bit of the pain in the butt. I had to like call in. I had to like transfer the miles from one place to another. With like the Barclay card or the Venture card, like you just pay for whatever you want, and then at the end of the month, you can just erase that purchase. They call it travel eraser, and it's a trillion times easier.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out now that I'm heading back to the States, because typically I fly with Emirates back and forth from Asia to New York. But now that I'm going to be in the States more, I kind of want something that I can use like that for domestic flights, and try to figure out what airline is even good right now, because I have no idea. I'm so out of that.
Yeah, so like what's cool is I think you actually end up saving money because you're paying cash. So you're paying just on your credit card for your Virgin America flight or your JetBlue flight or whatever it is. So you're not going to pick a more expensive flight just because it fits the points. And I think that's where people lose out a lot on. I think that the only benefit of the miles is if you do some like really creative hacking where you can upgrade to a business class flight for less than what they would sell it for in cash.
Every time I've tried that, it's failed. So and I've actually canceled flights too, because it'll show on Emirates, like, okay, if you pay this amount for economy, you can upgrade for X amount of points. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to do that. And then I pay, and then I go to upgrade and the button's gone. And then I call them and they say, no, you can't do that. Then I went to the office once. They're like, no, sorry, it's not available. So I stopped even trying that. I'm sure, I'm convinced it's all some kind of, I don't know. I think it's called like dark UI design. And there's this whole thing that the airlines do that's basically designed to screw people over. And a lot of airlines do it. So I don't know, not a fan.
Yeah, so I think that's why like people spend like literally the whole lives just figuring these things out. And here's my rebuttal on that is, for that same amount of time that I would spend trying to figure out these like little loopholes and figure out like what like where I can kind of squeeze in my miles at, I could have just made a lot more money. And I that's why I don't believe in miles at all. Like I think those people, that's their hobby. If that's what they really enjoy doing and that's what they want to spend their time on, go ahead. But it's such a waste of time. Like the ROI on it is stupid.
Yeah.
And not stupid good.
Right. Yeah. Unless, like you said, unless it's your hobby, it's something you love and you're all about, not so much business, but you're about traveling and getting around the world for as cheap as possible. That seems like the way to do it.
But at the same time, like I used to have that mentality. I think I would have been one of those travel hackers because I used to really, really like getting stuff for free. I used to love deals, and I still enjoy getting a good deal. But now my mindset's more, I enjoy getting great value regardless of the cost. My mindset has kind of gone from how can I screw over these companies by taking advantage of loopholes to how can I find what's like the best possible product out there, and be able to afford it.
Yeah, I'm in that boat as well. I'm with you there.
And that mindset is the reason why I'm successful in business now.
Well, it's the reason why things change too, because you said this like years ago when we first met, out in Thailand when like you were thinking about CrossFit, like signing up when you went back to the States and you thought it was too expensive and you had a conversation with Kurt and then he was like, oh, just think about how you can afford it. And it's that mentality that actually gets you out of situations and into others, no matter what level you're at. So even as something as simple as that as a starting point, but now it's like, okay, you're flying, business class. Well, how can I get first class? It's not going to be by spending 20 hours trying to sign up for credit cards and buy stuff and refund it and change over points and transfer and make sure no one's watching me. It's going to be, I'll just sell more stuff. I'll provide a better experience for my customers, which will lead to me making more money, which will lead to me being able to afford whatever I want. Yeah. So yeah, that mentality definitely is a growth mentality.
So I super, super, super have to thank you because I know that, I know you.
Did I lose you here?
No, I'm here, buddy. Can you hear me?
Oh, got you back. Yeah.
All right. So I know that, at the end, all right, so here's the two biggest lessons I learned, all right, from selling the store or just building the store in general. First is nobody will do the work for you. I think the biggest thing that was kind of holding me back when I was first starting is I don't know why, I had this stupid mentality where I had to like wait for people to do the work for me. And I remember, because we were friends and we happened to be in Chiang together, you would happily like sit down and be like, oh yeah, let me figure this out. But every single time I had an issue that I asked you to help me solve, I would watch how you Google how the solution to fixing it, whether it's like resizing something or like some kind of like HTML code error or something. You would happily help, but you would sit down and you would just Google like, how do I add this? And then you would follow the instructions and do it. And instantly I would think, why did I just wait 3 days to watch him do this?
Right.
And so I used to have this stupid mentality that people, number one, were either like way smarter, and people, or that like they, for whatever reason, they should do the work for me. And now it's completely changed. Like the more people I meet that are, I don't want to say idiots, but like not the best at, computers and not the most technical, and like half the, but they know where to find the information. They know like where to, they know how to use freaking Google, and they have the mentality. They're like, nobody's gonna do the work for me. I have to do it myself. That has really, really changed my entire mindset.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like accountability, right? And being responsible for your own actions and accepting blame when things go wrong. And I do it all the time. Like even with people that I work with and freelancers, like if a project goes bad, I still blame myself. Like even if I paid someone a lot of money and I don't get what I expected from it, I still blame myself even in that situation, even if it's like literally someone I've contracted and spent a lot of money with. So that translates by far into success. If you're always the one responsible for your own destiny and luck, then you take life a lot more seriously and you get things done a lot faster because you realize, like you said, you're not waiting for anyone. It's up to you, no matter what it is.
Yeah, I love it. So thank you, Anton, for all your mentorship kind of throughout the years. If like, I swear, if it wasn't for meeting you, I would not be here today. I know that, it'd be easy to say like, okay, if you had the same work ethic, that maybe I would have made just as much money doing something else. But at the same time, like, who knows? Like, I might have been back home, living in my parents' house.
Yeah, I mean, it was good time, and I think because you were in that situation of needing a change and then finding a solution, which is e-commerce and building an e-commerce store, it was like a perfect storm. Like you were at that point that you were like actually needing to make something happen, and I think that's definitely what did it for you. You didn't really have a choice. I mean, you had a choice, but the alternative sucked. You didn't want to move home. Yeah.
Well, another thing I want to like put out there is whatever your idea is of like your perfect life or the type of business you want to do, it probably exists. Even, you might not know what it is yet. Because before I met you and before I knew what dropshipping was, I was telling people I don't want to sell digital products. I want to sell a physical product. And every single person I met, they would talk me out of it, saying like, no, that's stupid. You don't want to, like you don't want to ship, deal with shipping. You don't want to like, there's no, you don't want to buy inventory. Mm-hmm. So everyone tried to convince me to do SEO or do like some kind of online only thing, and I just held out, saying like, no, that's not what I want to do. Like I want to sell something, and people would give me a million reasons why that was not a good idea to sell physical products. But it just in my mind, I just wanted to sell something tangible that I can hold in my hand that someone can actually receive. And every single person I met, and this was like dozens of people, they all said like, no, that's impossible. There's no such thing.
And the beauty of it is like it's such a more like you use the word tangible, and it is something tangible, not just to your customers, but as an asset to someone else. Like you just sold your store because what you built wasn't and like I do courses, so like this is why I know this very clearly. Like one of the business models that I use, I could sell for a lot of money. The other one, there's never going to be a buyer for, because one of them is me. It's me on camera. It's me writing blog posts. It's me teaching, and it's based on my experience. That's not a sellable asset. I love doing it. It's a lot of fun. It makes some extra money. That's why I do it. But it's not something that I can just put on a marketplace and the next day get someone saying, hey, Anton, I want to give you $1 million. That will never happen. But on the e-commerce side of things, those are businesses that this year it's been crazy with Dropship Lifestyle guys, how many of them have actually flipped their sites. Because for the first like year or two, people were building and holding, and there were some sales, but they were a little bit smaller. And this year I'm just hearing like there's a sale. The guys from Empire Flippers, who, if anyone's interested in buying or selling a site, check them out. Justin and Joe. I love those guys, but they're out in Saigon a lot, where I'm at now. And they keep telling me like, yeah, we're getting a lot of Dropship Lifestyle guys coming through selling their sites. Like it just keeps happening. So with other types of online businesses, if you're a freelancer or you're doing SEO, that's not something you could put on a marketplace. But if you have an e-commerce business, and it doesn't even have to be dropshipping, but if it's an e-commerce business, there are plenty of buyers out there. So if you're looking for a real asset to build that can provide you with a big payday, that's where the money is.
Well, the funny thing is, I actually remember Justin coming on to the first Dropship Lifestyle Retreat 2 years ago, talking about how to prepare your site for sale. And I honestly, I didn't listen to the talk at all. I just it was over my head. I was like, I'm never going to sell my store. This is, I don't want to do these things. And now thinking back, like I was thinking, man, I wish that I would have paid attention. I would have thought of this earlier. But I think, I'm a big believer in stages, right? So my first goal was to make $600 a month. And as soon as I made that, I realized, I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to just live as cheap as possible anymore. Let me try to make like a normal US salary. Let me make like $2,000 a month, because then I can live really well in Chiang Mai. And it took me a while to hit that, but as soon as I did, I realized, I was like, you know what? If I can make 600 and then I can change that to 2,000, why can't I make more?
Mm-hmm.
And I think my best month this year was like 20 grand or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. And it's like, it's a trade-off though, because like, I do agree. Like, I think like anyone, whatever business you're in, like you can, have spin-offs of it. You could build similar businesses. You could scale it. There's always ways to do more. So a big struggle that a lot of people have once they get past that first hurdle, which in most cases is somewhere around like, I want to make an extra 1,000 or 2,000 a month. Then the next question is like, well, how much money do I want to make, and how much am I willing to actually do for that? Because a big thing for both of us is, the lifestyle design aspect. That's why you're in Chiang Mai. It's the cost of living is very low. But the main thing is living there is a really cool experience. Like you could have a nice place. You're surrounded by nature. There's really good food. There's really cool entrepreneurs. So there's like a trade-off. If you want to go a different route, then what does that mean to your life? So that's like the next question and the next stage of everything. That's why I'm actually curious what your plans are now that, you've sold one of your stores, you still have another, you're doing your podcast, you have your blog, but like, what are you planning on moving to? Do you want to make more money? What's the plan?
Yeah, I want to make more money.
Yeah.
Actually, so I'm actually very content in Chiang Mai. So since you've been here, Chiang Mai has gotten so much better. It's everybody's like apartments and condos have been completely upgraded. When we were living here, it was, I guess there's a few places that you can stay in like a hotel that had a pool, but now it seems like everyone I know stays in like a new condo that's like, fully furnished, has like a pool, has a gym. So the lifestyle has actually gotten better. They've opened up a ton of like really amazing restaurants, like world-class kind of type restaurants. There's even better coffee shops than before. There's things like wine bars now, craft beer, and this stuff was the things that were kind of missing from Chiang Mai before. Where it used to have great Thai food, like cheap living, but you didn't really have like the luxury aspect of it. So Chiang Mai has actually kind of grown perfectly to suit my need.
Nice. That's good to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, but I am going to spend the whole summer in Europe. I booked a one-way flight, and I agreed to meet my parents for a cruise in September. So I actually have to be there from June 15th until like September 15th, which is like 4 months.
Wow. Yeah. That's a long time. But I mean, there's a lot of people there, and obviously summer in Europe is pretty sweet. So, yeah.
And I think that kind of brings it full circle, because if you remember, the first reason why I decided I wanted to hit that $2,000 a month goal wasn't just to make money. It was because Kurt said, hey, I'm going to go spend the summer in Sweden. And that made me realize, crap, I can't do it. Like, I just can't afford to do it.
Yep. And that, I mean, that's a big like thing to push people, but then like what's next though? Cause now you can do that, right? So do you want to be at the point where you could buy a building in Chiang Mai and own like, you know, a whole like rental unit? Do you want to get to the point that you could live whatever type of life you want to live in the States? So like where do you go from there? I'm curious, as someone that, you know, really is into lifestyle design, like what's the threshold of how much kind of work you want to put in based on the return?
Yeah. So I think this is the plan right now is I'm going to spend, you know, 4 months in Europe. I'm not gonna ball out too much. I'm not gonna like just blow through the whole 60K.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm gonna enjoy life and say, you know what, I've earned this. It's kind of like my holiday. I'm gonna chill out, just to kind of get that out of the way. And then I'm actually gonna come back to Chiang Mai from like September, I guess October. Go to Hawaii real quick for
real quick trip. Yeah. Stop over to Hawaii. Yeah.
Actually, you know, it actually works perfectly because I'm gonna need a new 6-month tourist visa for Thailand. And
nice.
Because Hawaii is a U.S. state, I can just get it there.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't even have to go back to California, which.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do that, and I kind of so you know, this is kind of like still up in the air. I don't know exact details yet, but I think what I'm gonna do is right after the retreat, I'm gonna try to convince a bunch of people to come back to Chiang Mai, and I want to do like I don't even know what we call it. Almost like I want to get like 10 people to partner with me on stores. Just like from the scratch, and then I'm gonna take
like a little incubator.
Yeah, like an incubator. So I'm gonna have like a percentage of it, and we're gonna kind of go through, you know, the whole, you know, starting a store right from the start, so from zero to profit, with the sole intention of flipping the stores, you know, once they've hit maturity. So after like 6 to 12 months of profit, just selling the store.
So you have that exit plan in place.
Yeah, and I think, you know, kind of now that I've, you know, what I've learned not only from building a profitable store, but also the process of selling it, I think if I, you know, by having that master plan and then having like, can you, like, how cool would it be to have like 10 DSL members, you know, all kind of living in one big house together in Chiang Mai and like going through the process together, you know, because like once one person has success, everyone else is like, okay, this is a competition, it's on, I gotta hustle.
Yeah, it's like a hyperactive forum where you're always motivated.
Yeah, so really excited for that, and it's going to be for, I think I'm gonna. Okay, so I definitely don't want to train people everything because there's so much information. So they have to be a DSL member, or they have to have a profitable dropshipping store right now. So
right.
It's just kind of, I want them to like already have something, and I think it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's so much easier that way. I mean, if you start from nothing, then you might as well just do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have like 80 hours to be like, okay, so this is what a supplier is. This is how you fill out this form. You know?
Right. No, I like that. That's really cool. That sounds like a really good idea. Yeah.
So I like it. And then, so I actually asked Larissa, she called me yesterday because she saw me doing the math on our accounting spreadsheet of how much her store is worth, or the store that we own together. And she called me. She's like, John, do you want to tell me something? I'm like, what? And she's like, are you trying to sell our store? And I was like, no, I was just doing the math because I was writing a blog post, and I wanted to know like how much it's worth currently. But what's really cool is, so that store is actually worth almost the same. It's worth $67,000 right now if I use the same multiple.
Yeah.
But what's really cool is the first 6 months of that, the profit was actually a lot lower because my conversion rates weren't as good yet. The ads weren't really optimized. So as long as we kind of continue this trend and, you know, keep building that store up, I think that store actually has the potential to be worth double of this store. So I think we could sell that when we sell it. I think it's gonna be worth over 100,000.
Yeah, and that's such a, like, I mean, then people always like wonder about, you know, if you build a store and it's making you $3,000 or $4,000 a month, like that's awesome. And that really is obviously a huge benefit of owning these. But for me, like my favorite thing again about e-commerce is those days that it's sold and you get that transfer and it's just like, it's like adrenaline, you know, it's like I built something that's this valuable to someone else. So, you know, I really love that. That's my favorite part about e-commerce.
Yeah. And the guy that bought my store, he is ecstatic because it's been about 2 weeks now since we started the transfer, so we kind of officially, you know, like shook hands and say, okay, like you got it now, right? Like, a few days ago. But you know, we started transferring everything under his name about 2 weeks ago, and I don't know why. I think I always have like random fears for no reason. I'm like, oh, what if I transfer it and then the very next day there's no more sales, you know? And he's but you know, sales actually are very steady. I think if anything, they're actually a little bit better than they were for whatever reason. And his goal is, So the reason why he bought it, he's like, okay, I can see, I can see the profitability of it. I can see like the kind of like the profits going up and down. Your expenses are way too high. You're spending way too much on ads. And he has a store already. He's actually a DSL member, and he, in his mind, he's like, okay, I gave you 7 months of profit up front, so 27x was it? What do you call it? Multiple? And his goal is to be able to increase that profit to cut that in half, and that way he can get all his money back in half that time, so like in a year and a half, and then anything on top of that he gets to keep for profit, or he can then flip the store for double. So from his point of view, it actually makes a lot of sense. Where he bought the store for $60K, in a year, not only would he have made 2 or 3 grand a month from that, so another 24, 30K. Then if he sells it for double because he increases the value of the store, it's the best ROI in the world.
Yeah, Johnny, I could hear you, but it's a little bit like not echoey but staticky. So when I'm talking, does it sound good on your end? I just want to make sure everything's all clear still.
It sounds beautiful, man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I have some static. Like it sounds, I don't know, like it's coming through a weird channel, but all right, cool. Yeah, no, but what I was just going to say though about that, like about, selling the sites like that and how some people out there just are purely investors. Like I would assume that what this person saw with your business as well is, okay, when you build an e-commerce store, Dropship, or any other type of e-commerce, like you could build it for a couple of reasons, right? One could be for a cash flow business. One could be because you want it to be your full-time job. One could be because you want to build to sell, or one could be like you just want that passive income. And I'm guessing what this guy saw is with you, like obviously your dropship store has never been your main thing where you're working 8 hours a day and you're trying to hire people and you're constantly split testing and optimizing. Like you built a great business that could fund your lifestyle. So what's really cool is like just by doing that, you also attract these investors that are willing to maybe just hire someone to take over the store, and they're going to pay them because they know they're going to get that return. So that's why really it is a win-win. Like I say, like I love selling stores, and it's not because I feel like, oh, I'm out, like I'm done with this. It's more because like, okay, cool, I built something that's valuable, and then I could see what someone else will do with it. So I earn money, they get a deal, and like everyone wins. But yeah, I think he's going to do really well with it.
I think so too. Like I think he's already kind of had his developer going, and the very first thing he's doing is he's making the site mobile responsive. Because right now, because when I built it, like people weren't really buying stuff on phones yet. It was a few years ago, like people had like a 4-inch screen, and the very first thing I would do is, I would reduce my advertising budget on mobile by 90%. That way we just like never show up. Just thinking like no one's going to buy anything on phones. But now in 2016, like people are buying a lot of stuff on phones. And if anything, it's actually easier to convert because people shop less. They're not going to open like 50 tabs to compare. They're probably going to click one thing and then be like, okay, this looks good. I'm going to check out.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, that's a good move. Probably should have happened a while ago, but good to hear he's doing that. That should be an easy win.
Yeah, and I mean, and so those are the things that I knew I should do. I just never it's not that I didn't have the time to. It's just it wasn't my priority, and it's crazy. I think a lot of people, they look at me and they're like, why wouldn't you do that? Like, why wouldn't you want an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month just by spending some time making these changes? And I realized I was like, you know what? That doesn't excite me anymore. It's not like not even just the money, but just like it's not. I think I have different priorities now, but also my personality. I like doing stuff like this. I like being on podcasts. I like talking. I like being in front of people. I like teaching. I like interviewing people. I don't like sitting in front of a computer and just like tweaking A/B split testing stuff or playing with ads. Like I've never enjoyed that. I'm not even that good at it, to be honest. It's funny when people ask me in the progress threads like about like like very specific like technical stuff. I'm like, I have no idea, man.
Yeah, no, but seriously, like, because again, it comes down to like you built it as a passive business, that's what you wanted out of it. So you got what you wanted out of it. So it's a pretty sweet transition, especially because now that, you sold this one, you still have the other. But yeah, I mean, like there's plenty of companies too. It's funny because like I do think this guy will do really well with it. But if you think about like how many businesses there are out there that are running like, super profitable e-commerce stores that have teams that literally test stuff all day, like there's a bunch of people that could take really any of our stores, to be honest. Like, they all do well, but there's a lot of people out there that could easily increase the size. So I look forward. I hope that, I don't know if the guy wants to be private about it, but I hope once he does sell it again, maybe in a year or so, that you can actually, interview him or speak to him on a podcast about that transition. Because I think that's a really interesting side story.
Yeah, definitely. I know he wants to be anonymous for now. But
Yep.
when he does sell it, I'm gonna make sure I get him on the podcast because then
Definitely. Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, how crazy
And you don't have to
would that
mention the
be?
store or anything, but just the story about, his goals going in and what he got from it.
Yeah, it's so crazy. Like, I mean, I think what's really cool is a lot of people that listen to this podcast, they have listened from the first episode, and whether they have gone back and kind of listened to older episodes, or if they've been listening for a long time, this is more about like the journey. Like I think if you listen to the very first episode, it's me and Adam talking about like building our first stores together, and like being so excited about like having being able to replace our normal 9 to 5 job, being able to get like 2 or 3 grand a month, and that was kind of like the end all. That was like the big goal. And now here we're talking about like what we would do to build like 10 stores at a time, or like really just level up.
Yep. And what's funny is, you probably could have done it much earlier on, but sometimes you're just like not ready for that. And that's fine. Like if it's just not there, then it's all about steps. Like that's one thing that kind of I don't like about, the information product businesses that I have. People will ask me questions sometimes like, hey, I want to sign up for your course. Can I make $1 million this year? And it's just like, oh my God, like, have I ever even tried to insinuate that that's going to happen in your lifetime? Like in the first, don't have unrealistic expectations. Take things a step at a time. Like your first goal, for example, I want 600 a month. Okay, fine. It doesn't mean that's all you ever want out of this, but start somewhere reasonable and realistic and something that's achievable within a shorter amount of time, because then once you hit that, then you can make your next goal and then make that again, maybe a little bit of a stretch, but something that's at least realistic. And then after that, make another stretch, but keep taking steps. Don't just go for everything from day one.
I like that a lot, and that's always been my mentality. I actually go through and I look through my old journals where I've physically written down. So big shout out to Kurt again for like forcing me to write these goals down. And I've made every single one of these financial goals. I think the only goal that I've ever written down that I never hit was getting a 6-pack. Even though I was actually pretty close when I was in Vietnam with you.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of fell off of that because I focused more on travel, having a girlfriend at the time, watching Game of Thrones, and, really kind of just making money. But now that I have time, I'm definitely actually going to get back there. I think that I'm going to announce that on this podcast right now, the 6-pack challenge. Before I turn 40, I need those abs.
Before you turn 40, how old are you now? 35? 34. Oh my God. You're giving yourself way too long.
Okay. Before I turn 30, all right, I'll give myself 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
It's hard to get a 6-pack, man.
I know, trust me, I'm not saying it's easy, but 5 years, I mean, come on. Like,
at some point, I'm going to get a 6-pack.
Yeah, there you go.
But,
there you go.
So I never, ever thought my life that my next goal would be to be a millionaire, like a US dollar millionaire. And now I actually see the path, because I was like, okay, if I, even if I built 10 stores and I was making $2 grand a month each from it, that's 20 grand a month. It's still going to take a long time. And like, it'll take like what? I haven't done the math, but like 50 years or something to get to a millionaire. But by, building the stores and then flipping them, and then also doing all the other things I'm doing, I really, honestly, I think I can get there in the next like 3 or 4 years.
Oh, definitely. And that's the thing. Like when you're building and selling, which is something I've advised people to do from day one, because it's very repeatable. Like that's, like you can make enough money with one store to usually cover all your expenses in life and live off of and be very comfortable. But if you're looking to actually build like a big bankroll, the way that's going to happen is by building and selling, because especially if you can maintain like your same style of life and your same expenses as when you're running one store and, living from the profit, then you sell that one and that money just goes into your account. It's not going anywhere, and then you just do it again and again. And the more comfortable you get, the more you could do it. So yeah, that's 100% the path to actually having that pile of money there, that bankroll.
So here's one thing I was really surprised is, I don't know if you still own and operate any of your own stores, but for a long time I kind of figured, I was like, what, I don't care if you still run stores or not, because you've had the knowledge, you've spent your time now to teach other people like myself how to do it, and it's all obviously worked. So even if you don't run any of your own stores, like I really don't care anymore.
I do. And actually that's the reason I'm going back to the States on Saturday. So I definitely am a lot less involved than I was 4 or 5 years ago, but we're going back, like I'm literally going with my entire team back to the States to scale things up again to where they used to be. So still 100% actively involved, but now it's going to be, everything we've been doing plus a lot more. So the way that things have worked pretty much is like, I kind of, I guess, do like similar to what you're doing. We definitely do, more testing, but it's not like, rapid expansion. I'm not trying to grow $10 million businesses. I'm more just like, okay, it makes X amount per month. It'll keep making that. It's an asset that I could sell when I want to. Now the plan is to go super aggressive on everything and build businesses that in 3 to 5 years, there's people willing to spend, 3 million, 5 million, 10 million on them. So, like I definitely am involved and I'm going back to build massive e-commerce businesses right now.
Nice. So can I ask, like, so in total, how many e-commerce stores or businesses do you own now, and how many have you sold in the past?
I have 2 now. I've sold dozens of them, usually in groups, not individual sales, but usually like, related stores. Because I know I actually saw a post you wrote where you didn't do a non-compete, but typically when you're selling them, you do say, I'm not going to sell this for X amount of years. So what I usually do when we sell them is sell them in groups of related products. Because if anyone's listening to this and is part of Dropship Lifestyle, we build niche specific stores. So if you have 4 or 5 stores that are all in similar niches, but a little bit different, usually when you're selling that, no one's going to want to buy one, even if you're indirectly competing with them. So they go as groups.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Actually, one of the great things about selling to a DSL member is like he just knows me and he trusts me. Like it's so insane that like, so people that don't know who I am or aren't part of the course, they have all these crazy ideas in the head. Like some people are like, oh, Johnny's never even owned a dropshipping store. He just like photoshops these reports every month. And to me, it's so insane because I'm like, the amount of time it would take me to like Photoshop these numbers and like these graphs and stuff, like I can actually just build a business. And the fact that but if you're in the course, it's even crazier because in my progress thread, I have something like, I don't know, like hundreds and hundreds of posts where I've like detailed everything I've done for the last like 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, like someone must be insane if they think I'm writing this like novel of of an imaginary store. But obviously,
why you think people in the course think that you don't own a store?
No, 100% of people in the course know I own a store.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say no. Yeah. I'm looking right now. Your post, your progress thread was started June 6th, 2013. There's 40 pages of discussions. There's 991 replies, so you're almost at 1,000. And there's 47,499 reviews.
Yeah.
Views, not reviews. Okay. Views.
So like the people in the course 100% know that I have my own successful stores because not only do I have all that discussion, but like when they talk to me, like they know I know what the heck I'm talking about, And it's like, but I don't even want to bring these people up because it's insane to me. Like there's people out there that like they want dropshipping not to work. For whatever reason.
Who cares? It's one of those things that people want everything not to work. And like, if you ever, I hate to say it, like I'm not one of those people that, is from America and doesn't like it. I do. I think it's a great country. I'm excited to go back. But if you look at like what a lot of the discussions are there right now and what a lot of people actually spend their lives thinking about and sharing on Facebook and commenting on, it's pretty sad. And it's not just America. Like, I mean, that's what I see because that's, most of my network and most of what gets shared is from there, but it's really sad. I mean, people are too involved in everything to the point that they just try to entertain themselves by, I don't even know what to call it, but it's one thing that I have no part of it all. It doesn't matter, honestly. At the end of the day, if you even think about I was just saying, even if you think about what these people are saying online, then you're really just wasting your own time because life's short. We only have so many hours in the day. And I'm realizing this more and more as I'm getting back into the, full on like hustle mode that, I've went through stages in. There's not enough time to deal with those people. And if you even respond to one or think about what they say, then your whole day is gone. And before you know it, you're caught in a Facebook loop of comments with people that have pictures of cats as their profile picture. So yeah, don't worry about them.
Yeah. I like really, really try like just to completely ignore them. And actually I'm getting way better at it now. What's great is how many like successful members there are of the course that kind of like, they'll go in and reply and say like, look, you guys are idiots, So that's kind of made our lives easier. One thing though, that I have noticed, and I'm actually very proud of you for this. I think it was a little bit hard, is how aggressive you got with your marketing. I think like at the beginning, you were kind of like,
because
sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, the reason is like, so now basically people come into our world. I've given out so much free content that I've created over this past year. So we have one 10 module free course, and literally it'll take someone from knowing nothing about e-commerce to having a really good foundation. I have another free course that I give out. It's 4 parts. It's like 2 hours of, pure content that will take anyone that wants to know what it is that we actually do in business, from, again, not knowing to having a very clear picture of what it is we do. So what was happening a lot when I was just distributing the content was that people were going through it and then they were just asking so many questions via email. And I am happy to help, but we reach a lot of people. And it was at the point where I was like, okay, guys, we do have the course available. Like, I'm happy to give you this free stuff, but if you actually want to ask questions all day long, you should probably get this course that we have. And, basically the best way to do that I found is through email automation, where we give people all the free content, but then we also let them know, hey, this thing's for sale. If you actually want to do this, then just buy it. And if you don't, click on subscribe. But if you want to be part of this, here's the link. And again, that comes down to, there's only so many hours in the day. So at first I was spending a lot of time responding to emails from people who, to be honest, who weren't part of the course. And there's just not enough time anymore.
So I used to make the same mistake of helping people like that as well. So I have a friend, she emailed me asking me some questions about dropshipping, and I was happy to answer it because she's like a personal friend. And then she would ask me 3 more and I would answer it. And she asked me 3 more and I answer it. Mm-hmm. And I realized I was like, man, I don't have enough time to walk you through all these things, especially because there is a resource out there,
Well, that's my thing. It's I created the course so I didn't have to coach people one-on-one. So if you're going through our free training already, and enough so that you have questions that you're serious about it, right? You have real questions that make sense. But if you're that serious, now we just tell people listen, you should join because I answered this already, and there's, a forum, and it's all there plus a lot more. So yeah, very clear on that now.
I think so it's actually kind of a disservice when we kind of like help people get started a bit and then be like, okay, now you have too many questions. I actually honestly don't even really answer anything. I say, and it's not because I'm trying to be a dick or because I'm just trying to promote your course. It's because I know 100% that if they spend all day asking these questions and then waiting 3 days for me to reply instead of just going out and finding the information themselves, they're probably going to get frustrated at some point and then hit a roadblock that nobody's going to answer because they're going to burn out their social circle, they're going to burn out their mentorships, and because people get sick of helping them over and over again on things that they should just be finding themselves, or they can learn in the course. And then those are the people that get really pissed off and frustrated because then now they've spent all this time invested in trying to make a store, and then they feel like, okay, now I got all this stuff for free, now I feel entitled to get the rest for free.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. At first, I didn't realize that would be an issue because I'm not that person at all. But what, I've realized over the years of doing this is that obviously when you distribute information online, you don't just reach people that are like you reach everyone. So I have had to get a lot clearer with that. But my personality type is, let's say I want to learn something. Maybe I'll listen to some podcasts. Maybe I'll watch some YouTube videos. Maybe I'll read some blog posts. But then if there's someone out there that has an answer to my problem, and if that's presented, whether it's, coaching or whether it's an online course or whatever it is, then I'm not going to email them and ask them, hey, I read your blog post and watch your YouTube video. Can you explain X, Y, and Z to me? I'm going to buy their course and I'm going to go through it and I'm never going to contact them. And I'm going to get a huge takeaway and my business is going to do better. And, that's it. It's done. So I wish everyone was like that. But that's I guess the answer to your question, or the reason we've got, more aggressive with the marketing, is to just address that issue before we have 300 emails from people asking questions that are all answered already.
Well, so one of the reasons I'm so happy to have you on the podcast is so people can kind of get to know your personality, because I think, especially with the more kind of aggressive sales funnel, people, a lot of people might just assume that, you're you don't really care about them. But in reality, you're one of the most genuine, nicest guys, most generous guys I've ever met. And I think anyone that knows you in person, at least kind of, has hung out with you and kind of gotten to know you, they know that for a fact.
Yeah. I would think everyone will interpret the messages differently, but I would hope that they see that it actually is more important that I'm telling them, listen, you want this, right? You want to build an e-commerce store? Okay. instead of just emailing me questions, here are success stories. I'm not the only one that does this. The students do this too. It didn't just work 5 years ago. Here's a screenshot from last week, and here's the course. Like, I would hope, and I know some people will take it the wrong way, but I would hope that they realize that that's actually trying to help them rather than me just answering their questions all day, because that doesn't benefit anyone. It's distracting. It takes away from everyone's time. So I do get what you're saying. Like, some people might see it as like off-putting, but at the same time, it's a way of me eliminating the people that I don't want to work with. And the people that I don't want to work with are the ones that have a million questions before they even sign up for anything.
Yeah, I like that. And at the end of the day, like, I know the course works because I've been through it myself. I met now like literally like over 100 people who have some kind of successful store, whether it's making $500 a month or $3,000 a month. To me, like, they've gotten not only have they gotten their money's worth, they've gotten if I do the math, I've gotten like 160 times my money's worth,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, it's so insane. Like, I don't even want to focus on those people anymore, because I want to focus on like helping as many people as possible and not worrying at all about the people who don't want to be.
Yeah, it's a different world. And again, like, if you just look on Facebook and go to some of like the most popular, groups about whether it's politics or religion or whatever, you just see some of these things that are on people's minds and some of the things that they share and that they believe are true. And like, those are the same people that maybe they see a blog post you wrote, or maybe they somehow see someone shared your podcast, and then they're the ones, again, like, they don't have real names on Facebook. They have some ridiculous photo of something, and they're the ones that'll leave, negative comments and just write totally ridiculous things. So not worth anyone's time in life.
Yeah.
They can figure it out on their own. They can take those first steps of figuring out who they are, what they actually want. And then should they ever want to proceed with anything, there's plenty of people in the world that do want to help people, but the people that help people need to see people help themselves first. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. I honestly think that, like, pretty much every single person begins with wanting to help people and actually taking their time to do it. Some people just have a lot more patience, and they'll keep, they'll kind of have more faith in humanity and keep trying for longer and longer. But eventually, I think everyone has their threshold. They're like, you know what? You guys just need to pay for this
it's something with like scalability too, and especially like this past year with the course, we've put a lot of effort into it. Like, literally have a full team, all new trainings. We had an app built, we had a theme built, and like, we put a lot of time and effort into it, honestly. So the fact that some people think they're entitled, like, you use the word entitled, and it's true. The fact that some people think that they're like entitled to everything just because, like, not that I don't believe they like, and that's the thing too. Like, and I'm not telling anyone if you want to be successful, you have to buy a course, because that's 100% not true. There's plenty of other ways to be successful without paying someone for information. But the fact that people feel entitled to the same level of support and, maybe training as someone that paid that didn't, that's where scalability becomes an issue. So it all comes down to entitlement. Like, I love helping people. I really do. Like, and when people email success stories and when people post the screenshots of, their daily sales and their first sale and their monthly sales, like, I love that. And I'm so happy to do it. But when I'm emailing someone who feels entitled, I really don't have it in me. And it comes down to, again, like, how much time there is. And, one of the things that is true, I guess I learned this lesson first from my e-commerce stores. You've realized this. Some people will buy and they'll be like the most pleasant customers, and they'll be so happy, and they'll get their item and they'll take a photo and they'll send it to you. And then some people, from like before they even place the order, like, they'll call in and just be like nasty about it to begin with, right? And it's not because you did anything differently to either of those customers. You had the same e-commerce store, you had the same phone number, you had the same images, the same products. It's just about that person and how they approach life. So it's one thing that you do have the choice of who you want to deal with. It's harder with the e-commerce businesses, because when you're selling physical products, you kind of do open yourself to everyone in the world. But when it comes to information products, you can change your targeting and your message to only let in the people that that would benefit from you the most, and the people that you actually believe you could help. So that's one thing that we've been doing a lot of this year.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And kind of one thing that I think I posted somewhere on but it really holds true is the fact that if someone stops replying to you, it doesn't mean that you've won the argument, or that they have nothing else to say, or they don't know the answer. It's probably because they're sick of talking to you. They're sick of like arguing and replying with you. So like,
but I mean, you shouldn't respond from day one. Like, And again, I'm sure it's like those trolls that don't have, real photos, real names. Like you just like, and someone did this, I'm not going to mention who it is because I don't want anyone to look it up. But one of our friends that has a pretty big website, someone posted a negative review on their Facebook page. And it was one of those ones that you can't just delete because it's like something if you have a local business, I think people can leave reviews that can't be edited. And so this troll that, again, it was like a cartoon picture and some ridiculous name, they posted something that was just totally false. And then our friend started responding to it. And it turned into, obviously, like, they say, don't feed the trolls. Like this guy was playing into it. And then it became not just this guy's one fake account, but then he created like 4 or 5 fake accounts. And because he was getting attention, he just spammed the site like crazy, started posting all around online. So the second you respond and engage, it just opens up their world. So I've never responded to anyone. Just delete and ban, delete and ban. It's very easy.
Yeah, and I'm working like so much towards that, and it's so hard because sometimes I want to like just educate people because they
no, you can't though. They're not there to be educated. They don't. They're not there.
Like I honestly, I really feel like most of them are not. Some of them are bad people, but most of them are not actually bad people. They're just
I'm not saying that.
Misguided that they just have like bad, misinformation. And
but they'll be that way. They'll be that way unless they change themselves into the day they die, and they're not going to change because you responded to one of their trolling messages and said, "Hey, this is the truth." Like they'll never change. That will never be the thing that changes them. That's why it's not worth it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I know you're right. And like, and that's why I've been a lot faster now to just delete and ban. And it's not because whatever they're posting is something that like I'm like. I don't want the world to see or that they have, this great valid point. It's because I don't want to open up this stupid conversation, and here's the thing is like, we give so much free information out there. Like this podcast has been free, like since day one. There's so much information in here. And it's funny. Some of those trolls, they'll say like, they'll be mad about one thing. They're like, oh, I can't believe Johnny's, charging X amount of money for this, or Anton's charging X amount of money for this, but I love his podcast, it's free.
Yeah. And it's like, then don't buy it. Like you don't like it, don't buy it. It's fine.
Just don't buy it.
You have every right. Yeah. That's the thing. Like I don't get why people get upset about things. Like no one's forcing you to do anything in life. I mean, it's very much a free world. So relax and do whatever you want. Make your own decisions.
But here's the thing that like kind of bothers me the most, and this is why I actively, openly share and like promote things so much, is because there was a very, very big chance. I want to say probably like 90% chance that I would have listened to some idiot that if I had been exposed to it, if I had like, did more research, or
if it was you think so though, if it was a random profile online, you would be influenced?
Yeah, because what happens is like, all right, so when I started the course, I didn't know anything about dropshipping. Like literally you were the one to tell me the word dropshipping. I knew nothing about it. And luckily, the only thing I ever read online was a Wikipedia article that talked about what dropshipping is.
Jeez. If you Google it now, it's so bad because that company DS Domination that was doing the MLM thing, like it has like, oh, it's so bad. But no, never mind. That's a different story. But what were you saying? You Googled it?
Oh, I didn't realize what that was. So look, when I Googled it like 3 years ago, there was nothing out there. It was just like Wikipedia. They're like, oh, this is this business model that some big companies use. And because I met you in person, I was like, okay, yeah, it sounds good. I'll take the course. I'll follow it. Everything's good. But I also know that if I had like talked to some negative person who is like is kind of regurgitating some crap they read online in some forum on Reddit or something, and then I started Googling and I started kind of going down that rabbit hole, I probably would have had so many doubts that I either never would have done the course in the first place, or I never would have followed through to open the store, because those first 2 months when I was building it, I was very fragile. If someone had come and like said like, oh, you're wasting your time, this is not going to work, I probably would have stopped. And because I didn't have the confidence back then.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. So I see what you're saying, but I guess one thing I do like to, again, like you mentioned earlier, people could hear that I'm a real person and, kind of learn for free before they make a commitment to anything. Like I'm just checking now on our YouTube channel. I mean, I have 6,300 subscribers. I don't even know how many videos. I think like 60 or 70 videos. And a lot of them are just free training, actually. So if you go to youtube.com/dropship lifestyle, like you could subscribe to the channel or watch videos. But like, I guess, I mean, you can read something bad about anything, but if you can actually get value from someone before you make a decision. Like even now when people email me and they say, hey Anton, I'm thinking about sign up for Dropship Lifestyle. Where should I start? All I do is I link them to our YouTube channel and our blog. And I say, listen, our blog has 40 posts. Our YouTube channel has whatever it is, 60 videos. Go through all that, check it out. If it's right for you, we have a course. So let people make their own minds up. So, I get what you're saying, like how you can be distracted, but let's say you really were researching it. I mean, you would find our YouTube, you would find our blog. So I would hope that through teaching, through me giving you free value, I would hope that that would be enough to make you decide for yourself, at least, whether or not this is something for you.
Yeah, and luckily, I think if you kind of search any of that stuff, my blog pops up as well. And if someone actually took the time to read 2 years worth of updates on starting my first store, my second store, they would know that okay, why should I listen to these anonymous people on a forum that don't even have a real profile photo?
Yeah.
Or
I don't think many people do, honestly. I mean, and the people that would listen to them are the people that, again, would try to not sign up and ask a million questions. I'm not that concerned.
So you don't want them anyways. Okay, yeah.
No, exactly. It's that thing about being able to choose your customer.
Yeah. So I probably actually should have mentioned this earlier, but I always kind of assume that people that listen to my podcast, they have been to johnnyfd.com, so they know. But I have a new...
Can we pause for 1 second?
Yeah.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right.
I'm back.
All right, welcome back.
All right. Drank too much coffee.
Oh, yeah.
To pee so bad.
Nice, I like
that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm sure, pretty much every single person who listens to this podcast has been to johnnyfd.com, my blog, but I have a recommended resources page that if you guys go to it, you guys can actually get a PDF of every single thing I used to start my dropshipping stores, including Anton's course, Shopify, kind of all the other plugins and apps, and I have discounts to every single thing on there. So whether it's getting my Jumpstart course for free when you sign up for Anton's course through my link, or getting 20% off Shopify for life, or getting free credit to start get your 800 number, all these things. That's the best way to do it. And my link to Anton's course is antonmethod.com, and through that, not only do you get all the videos that I filmed to kind of help people get started and kind of get over those first major kind of hurdles, like choosing a niche, contacting suppliers, getting that first sale, but you also get more access from me.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Check that out, guys. The 20% off is a really good deal because Shopify is something that you should want to use for life.
Yeah, and the thing is, I I actually kick myself in the butt all the time because I didn't have that link that coupon when I started my first store, and because I was doing so much volume, I upgraded from the $29 a month plan to the $79 a month plan. And every single month, I'm like, man, I could have saved $20 every single month if I just used my.
Yep.
So stupid. Yeah, but I guess it doesn't even matter because now I have all these other businesses. I still have my other store. So I think a lot of people don't realize this, but I actually don't see or talk to you that often.
No.
The last time we hung out or even really talked was on during your wedding in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
It was actually 3 months yesterday.
Oh, congratulations. How does it feel to be married?
Feels exactly the same. Yeah, it really does. It really does. It's more of the same, except now we live together.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
But I think it's going to be a big change when you guys actually move to the U.S.
Oh, it's crazy. But the thing is, there's so much going on that, it will be a change, but we're so busy for the next 3 months, and I like it. I'm not complaining, but I don't know. There's not going to be time to even try to adjust because every day is something different. It's going to be an experience for the next few months for sure, though. Oh, let me mention this. If anyone is listening to this now and you want to get involved with these types of businesses, but in a different way, the reason I'm going back to the States again is to totally scale our e-commerce businesses, start a bunch of new ones, and really grow them as fast as we can over the next few years. I decided that we're going to do that in Austin, in Texas, which I've mentioned a bunch of times before, but now we're finally locked in. So I'm opening a office/warehouse there, and that will be opened on August 1st. That's the goal. And I'm actually hiring for 4 different positions. So if anyone's interested, go to dropshiplifestyle.com/careers. You could see what's going on over there. But 4 people in Austin, August 1st, doubling the size of the team.
Wow, that's really cool. Where in Austin is it going to be?
I'm going to be living downtown, and I'm trying to find the office that's as close as possible because I know the traffic's an issue, but at the same time, it's going to be that flex space with the warehouse, and I don't think we're going to find a warehouse downtown. So probably, I would say the goal is 10 or 15 minutes outside of the downtown area.
Okay, cool. So I don't know if I'm gonna actually move to Austin anytime soon, but I told Anton, I said, like, why don't you go there for 6 months first, kind of set up base, tell me if you still like it, and then if you do, there's a chance next year I might move out there.
I'm staying. The plan's 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I like how you just, like, you know what? I think you've always been very good at that, just like kind of making up your mind and saying, okay, this is what I'm doing.
I'm getting nervous now because I've still never been there, and it's getting real. So I'm getting a little bit nervous, but it's happening.
So have you never actually stepped foot in Austin?
No, I've never been to Texas.
And you've already committed to staying there for 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, the way it works with, I know what I want to do. I mean, as far as the business that I have and will have as we transition a bit, it's going to be the same whether it's set up in Austin or set up in New York or set up in California. And I would love, honestly, like, I'm from New York. I love New York. And I wish I could just go there and set up and have everything easy. The problem is it's so expensive with like New York City taxes to actually form your business there and get it set up. And it's much better in Texas. Also, the cost of living's obviously less, which doesn't just benefit me, it benefits the whole team as we scale and get bigger and bigger and bigger. So, I think for like quality of life in the States and with California, another place I would love to be, the costs for doing business there are just insane. So I think when you mix quality of life plus like seeing like the people that are there and cost of living, I think Austin is the winner. I mean, I've chosen it as the winner for at least 3 to 5 years. So yeah, we'll be there.
I like it, man. I like it a lot. And hopefully we'll actually get to hang out more often if I do go out there.
Yeah. Oh, this is cool. Let's ask to see if the audience knows anything about this, because one of the positions that we really need help with that I don't even know how to find is a data analyst. So if anyone's listening to this and you're a data analyst or you can recommend anyone, please put them in touch with me. It's Anton@dropshiplifestyle.com.
Actually, my buddy Chris used to work as a data analyst. So
did he really?
Yeah.
For house?
Huh?
For house?
For what do you mean house?
Was it the company HOUZZ?
Oh, no,
House?
It wasn't for house. It was he worked for I think an insurance company or something. But he sells
interesting.
House, yeah.
I'll talk to him.
Yeah. I'll put you guys in touch. But
nice.
At least 3 more job openings.
Yeah.
Or
we also have have executive assistant, someone doing sales, and then a copywriter as well.
Man, it's so crazy that like it's transformed so much, because it was. I don't know if people listened to episode 10. Go back to that, because that's the first time I had you on podcast, which is 105 episodes ago. That in itself is insane.
Yeah.
But you recorded your first videos and you built your first, your course in like your parents' and your mom's like living rooms.
No, I recorded a sales video when I went home after Chiang Mai during Christmas, but I did the course in my apartment when I was living in North Carolina.
Okay. But I mean, either way, it was just you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's been just me for 3 years, and I should mention like everyone that's coming on board right now. It's not just for Dropship Lifestyle. You'll be involved with it, but we're doing lots of different things over here.
Okay, so more like the e-commerce side of things.
The e-commerce side of things and software side of things.
Okay, man, it's so insane like that we're all kind of growing together, and like it really is a journey. And
yeah,
I really feel like as long as people kind of just follow along, like. There's no reason why we can't all grow together. Yeah.
No, there's no reason. And things change, like I've done podcasts with you where I'm sure I've said it, and I've done podcasts with other people where I'm sure I've said, the reason that I haven't never built a company like Wayfair or Hey Needle is because they have 500 employees and, there's huge mega operations, and that's not what I'm looking to do with my life. And that's still true. But even going back like a few years, I had just sold a bunch of businesses, and I wasn't really in the mindset of I want to have an office again. I've had offices in the past, but I wasn't in the mindset of I want to have offices again. I want to have a big team. But now it's, I'm there again where I'm ready to have, a team of 25. And, I'm still not trying to build that even 100-person company, but we'll have within a year, we'll have 20 to 25 people working on all of our e-commerce brands. We're launching a lot of brands this year. And it's going to be fun.
But that is so insane, because going from 25 people to 100 is actually, it probably isn't that, like it's almost like you wake up one day and you're like, oh well, now I have 100 people.
Yeah, but that's why we talked about it briefly earlier, like when I was asking what your next plan is and what you want, because people forget sometimes, but as entrepreneurs we get to choose what type of business we want. So I agree, once you're at 25 you could easily say, now I want 100, now I want 300, and you could make that your goal. But I have I do the same like you. I write down my goals, and I have a very clear plan as to, who those 20 to 25 people are, at which time, which ones get brought on board. I have revenue targets. I have how many brands we want to launch targets. I have a lot of different things like kind of set up, and I don't want it to vary to where I wake up one day and have 100 people that I don't want to manage. And so because I know I don't want that, I won't have that. But you have to know what you want and what you don't want.
That makes a lot of sense. And actually, you know what's funny is, so Wayfair and Haney, these like giant e-commerce sites, they're almost kind of like, they're not as big as Amazon, but they're very big. They're like some of the, they do like what, hundreds of $1 million of sales a year.
Yeah, Wayfair does over $1 billion, and Hey Needle does like 500 million.
Yeah. So what's
and it's mostly Dropship on both of them. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's really crazy is not that I would do it, or not that it would be easy, because nothing's easy, especially if you're building $1 billion company. But the things I've learned through your course and kind of running through these stores, if I really, really wanted to dedicate, and that was like my focus, my goal, I could build the next Hey Needle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. And like, that's not even a crazy thing to say, because it's you've done it once. And if you wanted to be that person that brings on a lot of employees, and like you said, now you want to do kind of a mastermind / I guess joint venture with 10 different people. If you wanted to have them as employees instead of as partners, and if you wanted to have 10 of them to start, and then the first year you sell a bunch of businesses, and the next year you have 20, and the next year you have 50, and the next year you have 100, it's a very clear path to get there. It's just a matter of, do you want that in life? And I know you don't. And I don't want to be that size either. So you can kind of make decisions like what I did. Like, this is all, I guess basic stuff that a lot of people do. And if you don't, you should, but you should actually be clear on what you want in life. So I don't make 10-year business goals, but I do know what I want. So right now I'm 31 years old, and by the time I'm 35, 36, I want to have a really nice house in the Austin area, which is awesome because I don't just think about it. I look at real estate and I see what you can get for your money, and I bookmark these amazing homes that I want to live in. And then I know that a few years after that, I want to have a second home in Manhattan. So I don't just think about it. I literally go to real estate websites. Again, I look at what I want. I figure out the areas, and those are kind of like the longer term goals. And then the business is just a way to get there.
I like that. It's actually a really smart way to keep it fresh in your mind and know what you're working towards. I remember when before I became that Thai millionaire, that 30K goal, I went to malls and I would look at gold watches like as a hobby, like every weekend.
Yeah.
I would just go shop. Yeah.
Yeah, and like some people might think that's a distraction, but it's good because it makes you feel like, I'm not into the whole, I think we've said this before, but I'm not into like the whole secret thing. But when you see things like, okay, for example, we're moving to Austin, we're setting up this flex space. I know we need to get all new equipment. I sold all the equipment out here in Saigon. So like even now, like just to get myself excited for it, even though we're not going to open for 2.5 months, I'm on Amazon. I'm looking at the computer screens. I'm looking at the computers. I'm making a wish list. I'm like, what kind of tech do I want in there? I'm looking at videos on TechCrunch of different startup offices to get like inspired. So even though like this is something that will happen in time, it's not happening tomorrow, but just do what you like, pretend you kind of have what you will have. And even like if there's a certain kind of car you like, I don't know, go to Mercedes.com and build a custom one and just, see what it costs, and then think, okay, that's a lot of money. How do I get that? Like it really helps. It really does.
I like it. By the way, if you or anyone else is building an office and ordering like 20 grand worth of stuff off of Amazon, please go to Travel Like a Boss podcast and click on the Amazon link before you order it.
Yeah.
Because that'll help a lot.
Oh yeah.
Dude, so man, I almost don't even want to get off this podcast. There's so much to talk about. It's so insane. Like I miss you, man. It's been like, I'm so glad that we have this kind of this channel, because I know you've been just like swamped. Yeah,
I've been definitely keeping busy. We've been hiring out here. We've been testing all different things in different businesses. We've actually a lot of stuff. It's funny because people know dropship lifestyle, because that's like what I guess I've become attached to, because in this community that we have, it's kind of what I'm known for. And it's cool because we do other things behind the scenes, and it's not stuff that anyone really I guess has to know about. But one of the things that I'm hoping, we have this channel to discuss that, and one of the things that I'm hoping is, as these other businesses grow and scale, we could just talk about other visions and other things that are happening in life too. Because whether you're into e-commerce or not, there's always a lot to talk about. Like, it's going to be an interesting year. I'll say that. It's going to be a really interesting year.
I like it. Yeah. So the reason why I had you on today, and that's why I'm so glad that you were available, is I was thinking, it's like, I really want to talk about selling the store and kind of like celebrate that excitement for it. So at first I was just going to find some random person to like kind of interview me for this episode and be like, this is Johnny telling the story about selling it. But then instead I was like, you know what, let me just write it into a blog post. So it's on johnnyupd.com. You can see all the details on how I sold my store. And then I figured, I was like, why not have this episode be with Anton, the guy kind of who started it all. Thanks for being on the show.
Very cool, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So if you guys want to check out Anton's course, you can use my link. It's antonmethod.com, or you can just go to johnnyfd.com under resources, and you can download the PDF that has access to everything. And I promise you that his course works. It's not easy. You have to put in the work. I've documented everything I've done, but it genuinely works, and it's made me $160,000 richer if I include the profit that I made while running the store, as well as the $60,000 that I just made for flipping it. So thanks, Anton.
Congratulations again.
I owe you dinner or something.
All right, in Hawaii.
Better be a damn nice dinner.
Yep.
All right, peace out, everyone. See you next week. Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.